One of, I believe, the real true patriots in America is Kevin Roberts. He's the Heritage Foundation president. We have gotten to know each other quite well over the last year or so, and I have tremendous respect for him, his courage, and what he is also doing at the Heritage Foundation. I had a family reunion this last weekend, and we had about 35 people here, and you know, not everybody votes the same way that I do. In fact, some of my family, kind of rolls their eyes at some of the things I say, and that's fine. And we're still family, and we love each other. And we had a great conversation about what was going on, especially after the assassination attempt. And what came up over and over again was Project 2025. They're making it into a fascistic state. They're going to give the presidency so much more power. And I laughed and I said, that's not Project 2025. In fact, that's the opposite of what they're trying to do. This is something the Heritage Foundation has done every election year for many years, but never to this degree. And Kevin Roberts is here to tell us about it. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Glenn, my friend, great patriot. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. So, Kevin, talk to people who are hearing from the media that this is nothing but a way to carve out special exemptions for the president for fascism.
The best way to start, and we'll go into detail, I know, is to say it is total projection by the left. I mean, you, perhaps more than anyone in our modern age, has shown us how whatever the left is accusing our side of is actually something they themselves are guilty of. And so Project 2025 is actually a corrective to the very thing the left is accusing us of doing. That is, they are the ones, particularly since LBJ's presidency in the 60s, who have accrued all of this power in the hands of unelected bureaucrats in D.C. We feel that in every respect, every industry, every business, and even in most of us in our sort of everyday lives. But ultimately, what Project 2025 will do is address the problem of the administrative state in D.C. being weaponized against the everyday American. It's the biggest threat, as you know, the administrative state, Glenn, to a republic where citizens vote for a new president and a new direction, and yet nothing changes. In fact, what we will see if any aspects of Project 2025 are implemented is a diminishing of the scope of Washington, D.C., and an increase in freedoms, and the presidency and the legislative branch and the judicial branch all being returned to proper order. In other words, it really is, I think, the single best set of policy ideas about how we go back to the original founding vision, as our founders had it, of this constitutional republic.
Eden Pure is back with their famous Thunderstorm air purifier. It's their top seller air purifier that quickly destroys viruses, odors, mold, and so much more. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you know it works. Any smell will vanish after just a few seconds of the Thunderstorm being plugged in. Odors, litter boxes, trash cans, cigarette smokes, dirty diapers. Wow, I don't want to visit that house. The powerful Thunderstorm sends out O3 molecules that seek out and destroy odors. I have these in my house. They're great. The molecules go behind and under furniture. Nothing can hide from the Thunderstorm. Best of all, no filters to buy over and over again, saving you money. Start enjoying your home again and get several Thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for the whole home protection. You get 3 units for under $200. Put one in your basement, bedroom, family room, kitchen, wherever you need the air to be clean. Go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com. Use the promo code Beck and save.
You know, I said to some of my relatives, look, you and I agree on one thing, I think, and they did, and that is no citizen should ever be afraid that the president of the United States is going to get him, that this election would put somebody in office where he could take away freedoms of people he didn't like or didn't agree with. I am absolutely against that, because I know it always comes around to bite whoever did it in the butt, because they'll eventually get to you. And that's not our system. this ensures that the president, no matter which side they're on, doesn't have that power to get his enemies or to just rule his way without the consent of Congress and the people.
That's right. And if that kind of abuse and weaponization against the American people using the administrative state we've seen against the right, the political right by President Biden, were for some reason to be done by a conservative administration, we at Project 2025 and at Heritage, to your point, Glenn, would be just as apoplectic. Every one of us, from the far left to the far right, wherever someone is on that political spectrum, needs to wake up in this country and believe that of all entities, the federal government is going to be objective and neutral and fair and just and equal in how it treats all of our citizens. And so the real problem that we're trying to address isn't just the accrual of power since the 60s in particular. It is, without getting engaged in hyperbole, which you know I detest, addressing the weaponization of the federal government against individual citizens. I'll give you a quick story that is a personal reference, but it's emblematic of what people feel. I, as you know, am a traditional Roman Catholic. Doesn't mean that people have to agree with that, but that's my religious liberty and my family's to practice that. We have, over the last few years, those of us in that category, not just been fearful of, but we know the following has happened. We know this from the director of the FBI and the attorney general of Biden's administration. They have targeted faithful traditional Catholics because we like the Latin Mass as somehow being domestic terrorists. It's that kind of nonsense that Project 2025 would bring to an end if the next administration so desires to implement it.
So has Trump signed on for any of this?
Look, it's informal. The president, of course, has distanced himself from this, which is, I think, a smart political move given how successful the left's mischaracterization of this has been. Ultimately, though, to your question, great ideas and great people rise to the top. And so without at all being presumptuous, which you know I am not, and Project 2025 is designed to sort of be in the background, those great ideas and those great people, I think, are going to be part of this conversation once the Trump-Vance administration takes office. So I would, for people trying to make sense of President Trump's comments and his campaign's comments and the project, understand that we are in the political season right now, and soon we will move into the transition and policy-making season. And I just have great confidence in the policies and people who are part of it, and think that we're going to have a great era of good, common sense policy reform that ultimately is sort of neither conservative nor liberal. It's just right, and it's just common sense.
I will tell you that I read the website, and we're doing a show on it tomorrow night to go through what it is and what it's not. And if people will read it, I mean, I think the media is doing a great service in a way. If people go to the website and really look up what Project 2025 is and reads it, I think most Americans will agree with a lot of it. You're talking about dismantling the not the DOJ, but the DHS. You're returning the component parts to other agencies. You're talking about eliminating harmful regulations that have stifled innovation in small businesses, more oil and gas leases, less climate extremism, no more overregulation of dishwashers and gas stoves and everything else that they said they definitely weren't doing. You know, I think, Kevin, the idea here is the administrative state has been made into something that can do all the things that they know they can't get passed into laws. And that's what's got to stop. These people, these elites are running these organizations, and they decide what's best, and it never comes to us. And if we want to change, then we'll change. You can't force us to do that, especially as a unelected official.
That's the key issue, is that Congress, of course, is complicit in this by not being forceful enough over the last decades. And what it's done, frankly, under both Democrat and Republican administrations, is create this yo-yo effect of the Democrats and the Republicans issuing these executive orders. I'm still hopeful enough about this country, Glenn, to believe that maybe a vast majority of us across the political spectrum understand that's not how we ought to make law. And so what we're trying to do with the proposals we have in Project 2025, in addition to what you said, is call for an end to DEI and CRT. I mean, this is something that's vastly supported. Unfortunately, we probably see, in addition to all of the aspects of the failure on Saturday's near assassination, the effects of that was a higher goal, DEI, for the Secret Service director than real competence. This is the point. Americans understand what is going on, which is that a small group of people have concentrated power. They're not elected. They might be good people. We don't have to get into the personal side of this, but they are people who do not want those of us who are regular, normal people to go about our lives. It's imperative that people understand that the very reason the left has spent more money demonizing Project 2025 than we've spent putting it together tells you it is a threat to their power. And that ought to excite us about the possibilities ahead.
You know, you talk about in Project 2025 something that I haven't heard for a long time, and that's a flatter and fairer tax code with a 15% bracket and a 30% bracket. They, of course, will say this is tax cuts for the rich, etc. But it is shown math does not lie. It has been shown over and over and over again, no matter what you do with the tax code, the government brings in about 18% total. And if you bring the tax code and bring it up to 95, people find loopholes, don't pay their taxes, et cetera, and they still get about 17 to 18% going into the Treasury. So why not do a flat tax where everybody pays, what's appropriate, and you don't have all of these loopholes? That would be fantastic. Chance that happens?
I think there's a chance. And in fact, in some recent interview in the last couple of weeks, President Trump has even hinted at that. Obviously, we're going to have to deal as a country with tax policy because the Trump tax cuts are up for renewal. And I think there's an opportunity, depending on what the president and the vice president, of course, want to do, we will be of service to that, is to insert into that a flatter system. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when, as a country, 10 or so years ago, we were on the cusp of implementing that kind of thing. This is an excellent example of something that is in Project 2025 that is wildly supported by a majority of people. And it leads me to the following connected point, Glenn. You touched on this just a minute ago. Project 2025 covers literally every policy issue known to man. It is a menu of policy options. I've not met one fellow conservative, whether that's my wife or one of my siblings or my dad, all staunch conservatives, who agree with 100% of what's in there. The point is not to seek unanimity. The point is to provide a menu of options that represent the popular will, that if President Trump and Vice President Vance so choose, there's actually a substantive plan behind that political impulse. And that actually, I would like to think, for people who are more objective in the political center or the political left, give people a little bit of comfort that actually what we're trying to do here is have a governing agenda following the lead of the men who will be making the decisions. And I think as time goes on, to sum up here, the more we understand that's actually what this project is about, the more we're not only telling the truth, but we're actually kneecapping what has been a last-ditch desperation attempt by the left, which can't run on the record.
Can you do me a favor? I've got about 60 seconds. I just want to run through some true and false, because these are the things that are being said about it. I just want to know if this is true or false. Sure. In Project 2025, there is a call to end no-fault divorce. True or false?
False.
Complete ban on abortions without exceptions. True or false?
Extraordinarily false.
Ban contraceptives. True or false?
False.
Higher taxes for the working class.
False. We want the exact opposite.
Additional tax breaks for corporations and the 1%.
False.
Elimination of unions and worker protections. My gosh, look at what they're saying.
I know. So false.
Cut Social Security.
False.
Raise the retirement age.
False.
End the Affordable Care Act.
False.
Raise prescription drug prices.
False.
Eliminate the Department of Education.
True, my friend. That's the one thing they get right.
Love that. Use public taxpayer money for private religious schools. True or false?
False.
Teach Christian religious beliefs in public schools.
False. We understand it's a pluralistic country. We love those schools, but that's up to people to decide.
End civil rights and DEI protections in government.
Well, we definitely want to end DEI nonsense, but obviously the great thing about Project 2025 is that we're restoring civil rights, if anything.
Ban books and curriculum about slavery.
False.
Ending climate protections.
Well, the ones that aren't based on science will come to an end, but we certainly understand the value of science in protecting the environment.
I got to tell you, this is why we're doing a whole show on it. What they're saying about this is incredible. What it is, it's not. You can find it at heritage.org, or you can go to Project 2025. I believe that's project2025.org. Kevin, great to talk to you. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Glenn. Take care.
You bet. All right.